Okay, so we've all seen Dean Withers before, the king of anxiety pens, but I want to talk about something about his position that's absurd, weird, strange, stupid, R-worded, just like him. And it's his position on veganism, right? So he had a debate with vegan teacher a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, or something like that, where he just like dunked on the vegan teacher the entire time. Used big fancy words to try to get out of any genuine conversation. There was like six soy boy liberal feminist TikTokers versus the vegan teacher. They were just all ganging up on her, saying, "Oh, can you give me a proof of the reductio? The reductio is that the vegan diet is going to be absurd. Your moral position is going to be absurd." Which obviously the vegan teacher doesn't have the ability to understand these complex philosophical concepts that Dean is bringing up. Even though Dean knows nothing about philosophy, I'll cover that another day. But Dean basically used this and decided he was just going to dunk on the vegan teacher that way, which is really lame. It's like talking to your grandpa and using fancy terminology or Gen Z terminology and purposely making sure he doesn't understand to be able to do better in the conversation. And I just find it really cringe that Dean would do something like this. Like, if you want to actually act out in good faith, you would be able to explain the terms you're using in a better way. You would explain them in a more precise manner, and maybe vegan teacher will be able to catch on to them. Or just don't use the terms in the first place. Just replace them with simpler terms in order to fill in for them. And of course, Dean was all of a sudden confronted on his server on veganism, and guess what? He just got bullied for like 10 minutes straight.
Of sentient beings being forced to suffer for no
Tens of
reason, no
billions.
justifiable reason.
Yeah, man,
Right.
I hold to vegan ethics, um, for like the most part. These are just some potentially absurd conclusions that I like to just talk about for fun.
Again, but what's the absurdity here, right? Because when we're just talking
Yeah,
about just the actual world, right, we can
I'd
just point
say
out that it's not an absurdity.
I think it would be absurd to say that it would be morally wrong to eat above the daily caloric intake required to sustain your life.
Well, what's the argument that's an entailment of veganism?
Yeah.
Yeah, with overall minimizing harm, right? Like we'll see that eating above the daily caloric intake would just be causing unnecessary
What's the
crime.
He knew the fancy terminology, once other people understand it, is not going to work as a strategy. Saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo fancy words doesn't mean that you're going to win the debate. And that's exactly what happened. He just got destroyed and said, "Well, actually, I do hold to vegan ethics." But I wouldn't have a problem with this, right? Like, after this was like, "Oh, cool, Dean holds to vegan ethics. He's probably vegan too." Then a couple of weeks later, he created a steak. He murdered a cow. He paid for the rape and the torture of this cow that's now on his plate and on his supposedly girlfriend's plate, otherwise known as Parker. And it's disgusting that he LARPs as this person who holds to vegan ethics when this is on his fucking plate. And he's like, "Oh, this steak is no good." He even had a live stream of him cooking the steak. And he keeps doing it over and over again. And it's to the point where it's like, does this guy really hold to vegan ethics? Paying for the rape and torture of cows, then streaming it and saying this is good, is holding to vegan ethics? It's ridiculous. So, Dean Withers, you're a fraud. You're a piece of shit. You're a lying scumbag that needs to actually hold to vegan ethics. Once you convert to veganism, you'll get more respect. Thank you. Bye.